I'm Will Lennox from Channel 9, which is a free-to-air broadcaster based nationally in Australia, but specifically I'm based in Sydney. My job is to make sure we can get all vision, audio and ancillary data around the facility. So because we're an IP 2110 facility, a lot of traditional devices still use SDI, so we have to be able to sort of bridge between SDI, 2110 and NDI. So we use the BirdDog studios and the BirdDog Quad 4Ks to make sure that we can get SDI into NDI and vice versa, and that'll all go into our 2110 conversion devices. So to be able to get into software that's NDI based, the Quad 4Ks are definitely the go-to devices for us within the NDI environment. In the city, in North Sydney specifically, you have very specific ratings that are required for anything on the roof. In our tower, our mounting for wind speeds and weather IP67 rated, the BirdDog A300 met those requirements. We also had a requirement for redundancy, so we have the SDI as well as the NDI out, in which we have a PoE injector that goes into the switch. If we ever lose any of that networking infrastructure, we have the SDI going into a fiber converter, which goes all the way down into the data center, so we can make sure we're always getting that footage if required. That footage is also recorded 24/7, 365 into one of our EVSs. So if anything ever happens, we can make sure we can shuttle through that, and that's available to us. The wide shot of Sydney Harbour is probably the most important for us and for news downstairs. They use that in the backdrop of the 1600 news. It's also used for car accidents on the bridge, any events that happen in the harbour that we can zoom in on. The great zoom that the camera has allows us to get pretty good shots of any accidents or events like that at the Opera House or anywhere along the harbour there. Back to weather, we also look at the sort of rolling storms that can come in from out east in the ocean or from the west over the hills. We get awesome weather shots coming in from that, and they love the time-lapse shots, and they use those in combination with storm footage. They get some pretty cool shots. Being able to access all the devices within the same network and just select source and destinations is one of the main attractions for us. We can push that back onto our producers and our operators in small control rooms and controlled environments, and it just makes it a lot easier.
Well, it is that time again, everybody. How you are doing well. My name is birddogjon, and I am back in action.
In those scenarios, it's good to neuralize the cameras. You guys know that best.
Very straightforward. Plug it in, go to the WebUI, link the source, walk away. You know, like super simple. I keep looking over at the chat, and I keep seeing you are full of it. Tasty, spicy meat snacks. Covered in flavor. I mean, you can't go wrong. So what's going on? We've got a handful of folks here in the chat, and I really appreciate that. What's up, mate? Hey, Warren, how are you? Appreciate it. Hey, Robbie, how's it going, man? We were just talking about you. What's going on, Tom? Ahoy. How is it going? What's going on, Go Web? Good to see you again. Thanks for hanging out with us again today. Appreciate that. Feel like I'm in this video more than anyone but John. It's true, NetApp. You are, I'm going to cut this up and put this in the next intro. What's going on, everybody? I am, indeed, birddogjon. That's the fastest call on the preset. I love my X keys because I definitely was not in preview prior to that shot, and so hopefully you can hear me just fine. I'm going to listen to. Hey, we're on the air, everybody, and streaming directly coming to you on YouTube. Feel free to hit me up over on birddogjon.tv. That is where I am. And if you want to participate in the chat, that is also where you should be. And so birddogjon.tv, and you can dump your comments in the chat. I am streaming to Facebook, but the chat is not integrated with vmix. I'm also streaming to Twitch. That chat is connected to vmix Social. So Twitch or YouTube over on birddogjon.tv. One more time, that is where you can find us if you want to join us in the chat. And so jump in there, let me know how that's going, and we will definitely bring your messages up in one of those two places, YouTube or on Twitch. So we have one Twitcher already over there. What is going on, Pandorica? Checking in from the great state of Texas. Good morning. Hopefully you're doing well. Thanks for playing along on today's game. And Pandorica is evidence that the Twitch chat is working. So there you go. Welcome. So as today's title says, we're going to do a complete top to bottom of the P110 120 camera. And this is in effort to do complete guides that will be available after the fact, not only on YouTube, but hopefully in some sort of educational course. And so that's what we're going to focus on making today. I found out that when I'm streaming out of vmix to multiple places, the record button drops frames. So that's cool. I'm probably encoding it wrong. We found out last night that it's not utilizing my GPU like it should. And so it's basically dumping everything on the CPU, and then, yeah, it's all a mess. So I'm not doing that. However, we do want to talk today about specific camera, the beautiful camera line that replaced the legendary P100, which had been around for a very long time and is around. It's still available, by the way. You can buy it, I think, in white. But yes, the P100 is still around, but the P110 120 is kind of the next step in that evolution. And so great little cameras, and we want to do a complete guide for those of you who have them or are considering getting one. Definitely have that available for you going forward. So what I'm going to do over the next month or two is I'm going to do shows that do these complete guides, and that way we kind of kill two birds with one stone. We can talk completely about, you know, what is happening with this particular camera, how to use it, what you should expect when you're in the user interface, where all the information is, how to manipulate all things. Now, it will not be an education course every time on how to set the picture correct, okay? It will be more about all the bells and whistles inside the camera. Subjective picture color correction. Check out my video on that specific thing, which is available on birddogjon.tv, and you'll be able to see all about setting coloration settings, and I use a P200 in that example. And so you'll see the differences here between the P110 120 over the 200 when you're looking at that video and watching this one, but it'll be great to have this as a reference. And so that's the plan that we are going to go forward with. And I'm just checking my watch now. I'm going to go back to the chat and see if anything's there. Okay, NetHab, what's going on? Good morning to you. You've done something different on Twitch. There are multiple bit rates now. Fascinating. Really? So like more than one option? Is that what you're saying? Let's go find out. I'm going to run over to Twitch and see what is going. What the? Jeez, there's weird stuff going on Twitch right now. My main page is awkward. Okay, let's go here. Let's go Stream Manager. Yeah, bitrate is kind of all over the place, but yes, there is a source bitrate which is 720, 480, 360, 160p. Let's go to twitch.tv/ is it birddogjon? Is that my handle? That is my handle. So if I just go here and I say settings, quality is on auto. Yeah, I mean, I think I've always had those multiple, but you tell me, I don't know. Perhaps that's a new thing since I started going direct from vmix to Twitch. Yes, more than just 720p. So if you had a chance, by the way, Tom Sinclair, the great, the GOAT of streaming technology conversation. Anyways, one of the greats. He did a show yesterday on Eastern Shore Broadcasting, or Streaming Idiots over on YouTube, talking about set construction and how it correlates to subscription count. And so he took several different examples, from political commentators to just guys doing tech things to whatever, to even the vmix guys were on there. He left me out of it with my 400 subscribers, but it's all good. But he did a great little show on how to, like, the correlation between set design. His claim is green screen dead? And because, like, the virtual set, because everyone's going to real sets. Everyone's doing like the shallow focal length, blurred background, real set situations. And I agree. I think that's kind of the way forward. And the better your set, the more viewership you have. I think content is still king. And I think audio has a huge thing to play with it. But like the visual appeal of having a literal set is important. So Yeah, all good. All right, sorry. I'm like jumping around. I'm trying to keep my brain straight here, but we shall see. NetHab says the others weren't there before. When you went direct to Twitch, it was only it was only 720 compared to 1080p with StreamYard, but now 480 and below are options starting today. That's weird. I didn't change anything with Twitch, the stuff going to Twitch. I did change some stuff going to YouTube, but I didn't change anything going to Twitch. So that's a fascinating discovery that you have notified me about. So you're going to see some scheduled shows coming up for like the next week and a half, all going to be covering cameras. We're going to do 110, 120 today. On Tuesday, it'll be something else, but the next few shows will be complete overviews of those products. I want to get those recorded and available for you guys to have up on YouTube and make separate videos for them and everything. So I'm actually really excited because it's fun to have a plan and it's fun to have content to create. So that is what we will plan to do. Let me know in the chat if you are hanging out with us. NetHab and Pandorica are here. And looks like everything is solid over on YouTube, which is great because we're about 20 minutes into actually streaming here and everything's been solid. Whereas you remember Tuesday's show, I was having internet problems and because I think weather was playing a factor, but also then I was having problems on a few other things. So, bop-a-doo. So good stuff. Let me know you're here in the chat if you are, and I'll be happy to take that. There's a few of us over on YouTube. I am monitoring the show on my iPad today. But today's show, we are going to be talking. Man, my desk is so messy. This is such a. Anyways, we're going to be talking about the P110 120. I can't talk about the X120 yet. P110 120, and that little camera has proven to be very popular, and I really like the design of this one. I like the numbering system on the back. I like the Mohawk tally light. I like everything about it. It's definitely a good step in the right direction when we were talking about the 100 series, going from P100 and technically the same lens of a PF120, but going from P100, which was a 10 times optical, to the P110 120, which is the option is to have a different optical lens on it. So the P110, which is exactly what this model is, has been my working BirdDog support unit for quite a while, and is a great camera. It gives a great image. It's currently looking at the P4K, which is why this shot looks so great. That's a P4K looking at a P110. But yeah, really cool. And I love the fact that I can kind of steer this guy around and you guys can see that in real time. So great little camera, and we're looking forward to doing a little brief on that today. We're going to start that around 11:30, which will be in about 17 minutes. In the meantime, I have to continue going through the giant grocery bag of Snacks on Stream items that were sent to us from our friends over at Holden, Nick and Tarina in the UK, which means that many of these items are not available here in the US. Now, the big day will be the day that I try Marmite. Now, I don't have my toaster here, although I think there's one downstairs, I was told, and I didn't prep for this. So we will do this. I'm planning on doing this next week, but we will need to consume it properly, because if we don't, then that is going to ruin that Snacks on Stream reaction, and I definitely want to be sure that I do that properly. So we do have a little Marmite. Everyone's all super excited about me trying that, and we're going to give that a go. Yeah, we're going to try and give that a go. Okay, I'm just monitoring things here in multiple places. A lot of communication happening with me right now, so more on that later. All right, so let's find out what we could try. I do want to try these fingers, the family pack translation, when you're really hungry. So we're going to try Cadbury Dairy Milk, which I have had that chocolate bar. That's quite good because they have that in Ontario. In Canada, Cadbury is a product that is widely loved and accepted. And then what else we got? Let's find out. Whatever this is. Whoa, don't fall off the table. So this is fruit gums. Okay, so we'll give that a go. They're squishy. So, okay, we'll have some squishy fruit gums. And one more. let's go with these squishies, which I have actually already had, but I will give you the real-time taste test on these. Overall, quite good, but this is number 3, which won't warrant a full-on full-on snacks on stream taste test. But much appreciated, Nick and Tarina. I hope you guys are able to at least tune in after the fact and watch, because good times, everybody, good times. Though your title here says P200 setup tips. Oh, crap. Yeah, I have to individually change Twitch, and I totally forgot to do that. And I think it's the same with Facebook. I might be able to actually change that. Thanks for that. Thanks for letting me know, because that's inaccurate. I might be able to change that. No, I can't actually. Ugh, yuck. Okay, I don't like that. vmix, if you're watching, please allow vmix socials to set the title for the show, because it's really annoying that it hangs over Stream Manager, and then here we're going to change the title of the show to the complete P110 120 guide. Done. All right, that should change for most of you in a few minutes, and it's probably the same over on the Book of Faces. And so let's log in there, and let's go to the user group, and let's change. Come by and ask me questions. Let's chat about the P1 or the P200. We're going to edit this and say let's chat about life and the P110 120. Save. Okay, cool. So that will update for all of you tuning in elsewhere. Now, if you're over on Facebook, you got to join us. If you want the chat to work, you need to chat with us over on birddogjon.tv, because Facebook no longer is integrated with my chat module. So join us on birddogjon.tv. Subscribe there if you want. Now, hey, huge news. So I made a joke on like Monday, because I had 404 subscribers, and so I was like, subscribers not found, and I posted that on my BirdDogjon Instagram account and online. I'm up to like 416 today. It exploded in 4 days. I don't think I've ever had 12 subscribers in 4 days. And I know that sounds like nothing, everybody, to the YouTube world, but seriously, that is a massive explosion in subscribers on my channel. And I was like, we like slowly crawled to 400, and I did a show where I was like, you could be number 400. Well, now it's like we're pushing towards, 450 at this point. So that's pretty cool. It's been fun to watch it kind of roll, and I don't know what the trigger is, because I haven't really done anything of significance. And so maybe just people found me, or they have questions, or they're looking for all that. But anyways, we are good to go. So yes, thank you for letting me know about the titles. I really appreciate that. And NetHab, as always, you are a good checks and balances guy, so appreciate that. Let's try some of these snacks before we do the actual guide. So let's cue that up and get on with it, because we got lots to do today, and we should have the snacks on stream stuff out of the way before we begin. So
John's just making up stuff to start drama.
look, I don't know.
Look at him.
Wish me luck, folks. It's my first Vegemite experience.
Final, this is like cheese flavor or something. It doesn't really look too appetizing.
Good golly, this is something else, man.
Here's the thing about Pop Rocks, and I don't know if I'm the only one like this. Pop Rocks have always been a social experience for me.
I did not think that is what you were going to say. That's hilarious.
That is awful. Oh, gosh, that's so bad. Jeez. Holy smokes, man.
That's going to be fun next week when we try the sister product. Whoa, that did not fade. Really sorry, everybody. Hang on one second. I got to put this cut button back. So let me do this. There we go. Okay. It popped off when I clicked that button going into the show. So Yeah, that's great. And we have the sister product here for next week, Marmite. We should probably put that in the title the day that we're going to do that, because people will definitely tune in just to watch me painfully deal with that. But we are going to try a couple of things here today before we get into our 110-120 user guide. First up, fruit gums. I noticed here by Rowan Trees, it says, take the chew challenge. And I was like, cool, what's the challenge? It doesn't say anything about a challenge on here. There's no challenge. Contact us. Eat these with others, with movies, and as a treat. The only challenge there is others, because I don't really have any friends. So that would be a challenge for me to find people to share these with, other than the guys in my office. So it says tear here. I want to show that I'm doing this live here. I haven't opened this, haven't tried them, don't know what I'm getting into. It is vegan friendly. So for all you vegans out there. Okay, these just look like chewy. If you've had like wine gums or something, where do I have my overhead camera working? Yes. So if you have if you've ever had like wine gums or something like that, these fruit gums are similar in that regard. So they kind of look like that. So let's give them a try and see how that goes. Oh. Very much so like wine gums, which I really like. But wow. It says on the package, with softer chew. What were they before? Wowzers. That's a filling puller, is what that is. Good night. The grape one that I had was great. Now I'm having a green one, which is lime. Also delicious. Don't recycle at home. Recycle at the store, it says. Well, well, well. Look who it is. The one and only Jake Feynman. What's going on, man? Welcome back to the show. Thanks for tuning in. Always fun to have you around. Yeah, we're trying fruit gums from the UK, courtesy of Nick and Holden over at Nick and Holden, courtesy of Nick and Tarina at Holden. My apologies, Tarina. Yeah, those are really good. They're supposed to be soft and chewy because they got to work at this. Like, definitely working out the jawbone here. Whew. My goodness. That is a doozy. They're delicious, though. I really like those. Let's take a little peek on Amazon and find out what the oh no. Oh, they're all stuck in my teeth. Fruit gums. This is a UK candy. And fruit gums. Oh, $8 for a 5 ounces? Is that what this is? How big is this? Do they have the size? 150 grams. Yeah, that's this. So to import this, it's $8. The one that's slightly smaller than this, they sell for £1 in the UK. Or you can import them at 800% of the price. Really good, though. If you're in the UK and you're looking for candy, check out fruit gums. Those are excellent. Love it. And I'm going to eat more of those, but not until I try these other items, because we want to get to the 110, 120 today. Squishies are the next ones. Drumstick squishies. And if you are... I don't know where else in the world it's like this, but they definitely look like pencil erasers. They have these like mini ones. So they have these, unique smell. I have had these before, but I am curious if they will erase pencil. So I don't actually have I don't have a pencil in here, but we will find out one of these days. But let's give this a go and see. Oh, way softer than fruit gums. Almost like marshmallow texture, like almost stale marshmallow. All right, but way softer. That is for sure. Nice. Enjoy. Thank you. There's been some, so far, excellent. However, I'm not too sure about this. This is happening next week. And that is the sister product to the legendary Vegemite snacks on stream that I had in Australia. So, there we go. Oh, these are good. Original raspberry flavor and milk flavor. I'm not too sure what milk tastes like, but there you go. We'll eat a few more of these. Have the real experience here. Okay, folks. Well, the point of this show and what we're doing right now is to give you a chance to talk to support about BirdDog questions or products that you have. And if you have a ticket in, you want me to look it up, I can do that. I am going to do the P110 120 user guide today. And we won't take chat during that time, but then once that's done, I will follow up and answer any questions that are in the chat. So feel free to keep your questions or ask your questions while that's going on, and then I will be sure to follow up on those as we get going. Yes, these school erasers have a similar texture to what erasers taste like, if you remember your childhood clearly. I'm not sure I like the milk flavor, but the raspberry one's good. And I'm going to keep eating them. So, all good. Really good, actually. Not as good as fruit chews, but these things, maybe you're supposed to, like, not chew them right away, although they're called fruit gums, so I'm assuming that that's what you're supposed to do. I don't know. It's a riddle. Definitely marshmallowy. You know? Definitely marshmallowy. If that is a word that describes something. A texture of a food. You know? Okay. It's coming up on 11:30. So I'm going to save this for the end. Because I want to be ready to talk about 110, 120. So that you guys can feel confident when you're navigating that camera. So make sure I'm all set up here before we get into this segment. But I will take your questions at the end of it. If you have them, or if you think I've overlooked something, I'll try and keep an eye on the chat while I'm recording this. But there's a lot to go over, and I'll try not to rush it because that would defeat the purpose. But we definitely are going to do an overview of the 110, 120 and do a full walk around of the product itself physically, and then we'll do a look through the WebUI and show you it moving about and what have you. So let's do that in like a minute and a half once we're up to speed. I actually don't have any liquid in here today, which is rare. I usually have coffee. I drank all the coffee this morning, and my fellow coffee makers in this office, one of them is away and one of them is downstairs. So he's probably got coffee on his own. Anyway, coffee after the show, because I'm sure this sugar intake is now going to cause a headache. So we'll go with that. Yeah, I'm really and I love this shot for some reason. I really like the way that this shot looks. That P4K, man, that's a great little product shot that we've got going on here. So big fan. All right. Okay, the chat is quiet, so let's roll with this, and we will begin the product overview, and then we'll take any questions that you have at the end. Hopefully you find this useful. All right. Okay, so let's talk today about the P110 120, and what this is a complete overview of the product so that when you buy it or you use it, you have a reference to every single feature that's on the list. Everything that I know about it will be shared. And so today we're going to talk about the P110 in particular is this specific camera, but the only feature difference between the two is the optical lens, essentially. And so We will be talking about firmware 112, which at time of recording is the latest thing that I got put on this camera, but 112, which includes the Silicone 2 update. And so we'll go over that feature as well. Briefly, but we'll go over that feature. So let's get started. 110 is a great little replacement when we're talking about the 100 series. It is the next in line to the P100 series, the original P100. And so this P110 is kind of the next step in that generation, but it comes with some additional features on board, like the Mohawk tally light and the little LCD screen that differentiates it from the P100. Now, the 100 also had a different form factor. It did not look like this. It was had a little bit more like a barrel lens on it and what have you. This is more compact and in line with the design from BirdDog products up to date. So this is a great little example of us trying to listen to our customer base, listen to what it is that they want, and also then create a product that is more in line with those feature requests. And so first and foremost, you're going to notice on the front of the camera, there's a little LCD screen. And on that LCD screen, it's going to tell the short name or MDNS name or however, the identifier name for your network. It's going to tell the IP address. It's going to tell what resolution the camera is working in. And it's going to, I think those are actually the main items for that list. It's going to tell those items at all times. It'll show that at all times. Now, there is an option where you can turn that off if you're in a security situation. We can look at that on the WebUI in a few minutes. But generally, for troubleshooting, it's really helpful to see what the camera's doing. And if that screen is supposed to be on and if it's off, it's a clear indication that you may have an issue with the product itself. And so great little troubleshooting tool, tells you what the IP address is, tells you what the short name is, so you can find it on the network, and it makes it very simple to interact with. And folks have been we've had some very good feedback about that and positive kind of reinforcement for those changes for adding that screen. The other thing you'll notice is that on the top here, there is a light. Now, the P100 didn't have a tally light, but the 110, 120 do, and it's what we're lovingly referring to as the Mohawk light. There is also a light on the back, which allows you to add like a number, which is like basically an indicator, and so that you can put in a little silicone, and I can try and spin it around here for you so that you can see it, but there's a little indicator that shows it here on the back. It's really hard to see that. That is an insert. There it is right there. And when the tally light turns on, that little number will light up. But that is just a simple little indicator light that you can replace the silicone things with different numbers, and you can even buy additional numbers as well. So the tally light lights up that section and the Mohawk at the top and gives you that option to have NDI metadata tally being sent directly to the camera. So super helpful there, so that talent or however you want to use your tally can be used. Now, you can manipulate the tally in really only with vmix as of today, really only inside something that can send the tally information. We have received the feature request to be able to manipulate that with an API, but right now, if you're using vmix and you select that camera, then that tally light should turn on. Now, I've turned that feature on. We'll do that in the WebUI in a minute, but that is the major change for the 100 series is the tally light and the little LCD screen. The back of the physical camera, which I will spin around here so that you can see, is the exact same as the P100 used to be. So we have our NDI IP PoE port. We have a HDMI port. We have a USB port for USB updates if that needs to happen. We also have a USB, I forget what that port's called, but it's basically a printer cable. But that enables this as a webcam, so you can plug it in via USB into the camera and into a computer, and it turns it into a webcam. And there's also an RS-232-422 port if you wanted to do VISCA control with the camera. So, and an SDI port, of course. So SDI out, HDMI out, NDI out, and UVC out, we'll say. And all of those connections are on board the camera and functional out of the box. So that is a super helpful, let me try and get this centered again, a super helpful way of connecting it to a system. Of course, we assume that you're buying an NDI camera to use it with NDI, and so that's how control is generally issued and supported and assumed that you're going to control the camera over NDI commands like Studio Monitor or a keyboard or something like that. So, or VSCA IP even at that point. The camera does do VSCA IP, Sony VSCA IP commands as well, which means that you can use it with a broad host of other controllers. We just don't support those controllers at BirdDog specifically, but if you wanted to use a controller company like Scarhoy or something like that, they would support a protocol like Sony VSCA IP. So there's that option as well. So physically, that's basically it. It's about the same physical size as the P100 used to be, but it is a great little camera that has a great optical lens, looks really good, but also gives you a ton of features on the WebUI, which is what we want to kind of go over to now. So I'm going to cut over there and I'm going to walk you through all of the features that are on this side of the camera. So I'm going to turn towards here so I can see this clearly and just give you kind of a brief overview. So this is a very familiar WebUI now that we have with NDI 5. And when you load up to the dashboard, you know, we can use the IP address. We can use the actual short name of the camera if we want to. So this system name is birddog-studio-p100.local. So if I wanted to get to that there, I could do that. I could use this. And I wouldn't need to know the IP address. I just need to know the name. Also, the IP address is on the front of the LCD screen that we had talked about just here moments ago. It's listed there as well as the short name. My short name is pretty long, and so I don't know if that whole screen will fit the whole short name, but I set that name, and so I'm pretty confident in what that is. So this is the very familiar now NDI 5 dashboard that everybody is pretty much comfortable with at this point. It gives us great information, CPU usage, the actual network bandwidth that's being used. It tells us what the device mode is, obviously in code because it's the camera, and that it is streaming NDI. We have the video short name, which would be when you go into Studio Monitor and you click on this camera, it'll say cam when you pull it up. Video format, audio status. Here's the actual 1080p 5994. This is a progressive format that I'm using. Our average bitrate, this is just fed back to the WebUI every so often, and so you'll see it change every now and then. But my sample rate is 422. Genlock status is not active. We don't have Genlock status. Well, we have Genlock for NDI 5, but we're not using it here. Network mode is TCP, not multicast, but we could change that. Silicon 2 protocol, this is a new line item for 112 because this is the Silicon 2 item, or firmware. So I'm actually outputting this as HX, and I'll show you that here in a minute. And then down here in system details, again, our system name, our MCU version, which is 13, which is correct. Our status is active, which means the camera assumes that it is functioning correctly. Our IP address, which is helpful, and our whole MAC address if we're trying to find it on the network. Our network speed, which is a gig, and then our firmware version and the network configuration method that we are in, which is DHCP, which is what I would recommend. So dashboard is very familiar, gives us lots of useful information. If we know what the IP address is or the short name, we can see this without even logging in. Then I'm going to click on network, which is the next tab, and it's going to say you need to log in because you haven't done that yet. And I'll say, okay, now I will jump back to the dashboard just to show you two more options. The first is device restart. If I log in, I can restart the NDI stream here, or I can reboot the device if I wanted to kind of soft power cycle. Okay, it's not a full power cycle because the power never leaves it, but it basically restarts the main board in the camera and starts everything over. This device restart restarts the NDI chip. And so if you make a resolution change or a network protocol change, you hit restart video or device restart, and it will set that up for you. If you need to like do a full power cycle and let it boot up again, you would hit system reboot. Okay, the next tab is network. Here it is where I'm going to set up my network settings. And first and foremost, that BirdDog name, that system name or the short name that we use is here on that screen. So we want to type in something that is familiar. By default, it's just BirdDog dash and the last 5 of the MAC address. But in my instance, these are cameras that are operating in my own studio. And so I want to change that to something that I'll remember. -studio-p100 works really well for me. And that's super simple, even if the IP address changes, because I'm operating in DHCP. Now, pro tip, I would prefer you to operate your NDI network in DHCP and utilize the DHCP reservation list, which on most reputable routing systems these days is included. But if you leave it on DHCP and you assign an IP address on the DHCP service, then you'll never have to change any of this stuff. Okay, this whole section can just be left in autopilot. because your system is smart enough to know that, oh, that MAC address needs an IP address, and they have registered that that IP address needs to be this one. So it's a great way to know all your IP addresses, but let the system manage the packets. If you want to know more about that, we have videos, lots of videos on why we recommend those things, that configuration over a static configuration. You're welcome to check out those videos over on birddogjon.tv. Okay, so we can change things like DHCP timeout, the fallback address. I really recommend that you don't change this because there's really no need to, and this is a great little troubleshooting step. I also recommend that you don't make your NDI network 192.168.100 because that gets confusing when you have a fallback address in that same range. But subnet needs to be 22255, and your gateway, whatever your gateway is, that also needs to be in there. Again, if you have a proper DHCP running, all of this will be self-populated. The NDI network settings then gives us the option to change it between TCP, multicast, RUDP, and UDP. My real recommendation here is TCP until you max out, and then multicast. And those are really the two most stable that I think that we are comfortable with at time of recording. And so if you're running unicast, run it in TCP. It involves having an acknowledgement packet, and it makes the network quite busy. But if you're overloading your network with NDI sources, then we really need to be talking about multicast anyways. And so that's where we would change that. We could change that here as transmit preferred method of multicast. And then you would fill in, if you have a custom multicast network, you'd fill these in. If you're using the 4250 multicast settings, these just remain the same. You don't need to change those. That's the default. Here is where we would also add a discovery server. So we would put in the IP address of our discovery server, and then we turn it on, hit apply, and then say device restart, which would then reboot the NDI chip and give us that option. And you should be watching the discovery server when that happens, and it will show it as a line item. And access configuration, this is where if we have a multi-subnetted network, not VLAN, a multi-subnetted network, then you could add those additional devices on the network that are on different subnets. So if I have 192.168.1, that's this network, but then on 192.168.2, I'm running like on second floor of my office building, I'm running other sources. I could add those remote IP addresses here. There's even if you say save, it will download a little configuration file. You just use the same formatting that you get in that configuration file, and then you put it here in this list and hit upload. And that will then, if you do it correctly, it will list those IP addresses just like this. It will list them on the thing, and you know you've done it correctly, and then you're good to go there. Same thing with the NDI remote groups. So receive groups. Receive groups is a way to put things in boxes so that they just belong to groups, but they're all in the same subnet. And so if you want to learn more about NDI groups, we will have a video about that. I just recorded it. We'll have a video about NDI groups available where you can learn more about that, about the concept of that. But essentially, it's the same deal. You would download a save file. You would open that. You'd copy the formatting and put your own groups in there. You would add your groups then in Access Manager on any computer that needs to be in that group, and then you would upload that file here. And again, if you do it correctly, those groups will appear on a list right here, just like these ones. And then we would need to obviously then enable NDI groups, and we would need to add the group that this belongs to into this text box. Now, there's an update coming where this text upload is changing, and so that's why we're just generally talking about NDI groups. When it changes, it will be a fillable box. I've been informed it'll be a fillable box that you can add it to groups and just hit save, and that will do it for you right on the WebUI. So we made that request a little while ago because it was confusing to have two different sets, and so now it will all be the same. It'll all look the same, which I think is a huge step in the right direction for making things customer friendly. Okay, if you wanted to secure the network a little bit, you could add a password here. So you put in the current password, which by default is just BirdDog, all lowercase, one word. And then you would put in your new password and you type it again. That way you are for sure changing it. You know what you're doing. Please document this information. It's really a pain to try and get into a camera that's been changed in the password. And if you don't have a system that needs to be like locked down, then consider not changing, okay? I realize there's an open security risk, and by all means, that's why the option is here. But if you're just doing it for funsies, then that you may consider not doing that because it's one more thing to have to kind of get by if anything goes wrong. System update is where we would click on choose file, and we would upload the .fw file to do the update for this camera here. And so We've done tons of update videos in the past. This is where you do it. You'd upload the .fw file and hit upload. This is another full-on baseboard reboot button, same one that's on the dashboard. So if you click that, the whole unit will restart the baseboard. MICU update, sometimes there is a need to do a baseboard update, and so that .bin file gets uploaded here. You'd click that, hit upload, and then there's a progress bar right here on the bottom that it will show you the progress of the baseboard being updated. And something cool that I think our master-in-chief got implemented was a light mode and dark mode. And so we can now change the WebUI, because we were getting a lot of complaints that people were trying to manipulate these outdoors in the sun and they couldn't see the WebUI. So we implemented a light mode, which basically then allows you to see things a lot brighter on a screen in the sun. So that's a great little feature. Shout out to Dan, who got that, kind of spearheaded that and got that implemented. Okay, the next tab is the AV settings setup tab, and we're just going to talk about each of these buttons. We're not going to talk about actually how to use them, but we're going to talk about what they are. There's a bunch of options here where you can, so the audio output select, if you want it to be comms, okay, for Comms Pro or whatever, you could have your audio output on this device to do that. Now you need a USB dongle to plug into the back of the device to get audio in and out, and it comes with the camera, and so don't throw it away. But if you wanted to use the camera for comms for some reason, then by all means, you have it on a tripod that's on the floor and you want somebody's headset plugged into it, you could use comms for that, or you could loop out the actual audio that you're sending it. So you're inputting audio, and then you could loop out the audio there to listen to it as well, or to send it to a separate audio source. Your digital gains are here. These are not amps. These are just digital gains, so use with caution. And the device restart button is here underneath. That is the same that's on the WebUI, which is a NDI chip restart. The OLED, this is that piece where I said you could turn off the OLED if you didn't want it to show the information. And so if I cut over here, I've turned it off, see? Click off, and now I click on, and it shows that information. So if you didn't want your IP address to be listed or your short name, you could set it all up and then hit off. Please document then, because there's no way to manually turn it on at the camera level. You have to do it on the WebUI. So we turn it on. You can also invert it, which means that if you hang this camera upside down, you can invert this information so that you can still read it. Now, if you hang it in a ceiling, you might be using binoculars to see it, but there you go. It is an option. So we're going to turn it on. We're going to leave it on, and I like that very much. Such a cool little feature. Really happy they did that. All right, now there's a couple of things here. A change with the Silicone 2 option here on the AV screen. This screen you're very familiar with, NDI managed or manual bitrate. My recommendation always is use NDI managed, because the bottleneck should not be the camera. The bottleneck, you need to fix if you're manipulating the bitrate I'm sorry, here we go. If you're manipulating the bitrate in the WebUI because your network can't handle it, we need to address the network thing. Really shouldn't be throttling down the bitrate here on the bitrate management and NDI video bandwidth. You should be addressing the fact that you need to do that at all. So leave it at NDI managed and then fix your network. Lovingly fix your network. This is that stream name that in Studio Monitor, if you wanted to change it to something specific, so like I could say Studio, P110 or something, but I could change the stream name and hit apply, and then when we look at it in Studio Monitor a little bit later, you'll see that. We change our video format here, so 1080p 5994 progressive is what a lot of the internet is, but most of Europe is interlaced, so there you go. NDI audio. Do you want to send audio across the NDI feed or not? This is where you turn it on for analog or for mute. Mine is on mute because I don't have any audio plugged into this. Stream to network. If you wanted to actually just turn off the NDI stream, it would just show the screensaver. But maybe we're not using this camera, but it's up in a ceiling. We don't want people like remoting in and seeing it while we're not using it. So you can actually turn off the stream, and this is an API command. So you could write this into like an X keys button or something like that and actually turn the stream off on the network when you're not using it, and then turn it back on when you are. When you turn it off, you'll see a screensaver. And if you want to change the screensaver to something, you can change it to the BirdDog logo. You can change it to a black screen, or you can change it to something of your own, a capture frame. And what you do is you point it at something that you want to capture it, and then you click capture, and that becomes your capture frame. There are future firmware requests, I'll say, I don't know about anytime soon, requests to include the JPEG upload for this, because people want to put their corporate logos up, and that's an important piece. This is where we would turn on and off the onboard tally. And as you see, mine is off. So now I will turn it on. And then I will, let's cut over now to this, and I'll load up this in preview. And there it is, green. Pretty cool that it is, it's that fast, you know, like I turn it off, turn it on. It's very, very quick. And so I really like that as an option. You just turn on the tally and it works, which is amazing. Remember, you need a metadata, NDI metadata, to send to the camera to do that. And so programs like vmix and Wirecast, TriCaster are great for that. Your Genlock source, what you can do there is you can actually affix it to the timing of a camera that's on your network. Now, this is a BirdDog support unit, and so it's here for a couple of reasons, and one of it is it's struggling to find sources, and so bear with me. But that is what we would do there if you wanted to sync it to another source on the network. Now, Genlock NDI is not Genlock traditional like you're used to. So don't get this idea that the timing will all be locked into place. That's not what it is. If you really want to learn more about Genlock on NDI, you need to read the NDI 5.5 release notes from NDI.tv for the SDK. That is where a lot of that is listed. Same thing here with the failover source. If this camera for some reason stopped transmitting and it started malfunctioning, you could link it to another source that's on your network so that it doesn't stop sending NDI. Or so, for example, we were having an issue ages ago where we were having like sources would malfunction or disappear or get unplugged, and vmix would crash. And so this was the response to that, is basically adding a failover source so that it will reflect a source and won't crash firmwares or softwares that might have, you know, an issue with that. So that's not an issue anymore with vmix, and it was never an issue with TriCaster, but Wirecast, I think, it's not an issue anymore, but it's a feature now. So there you go. All right, so then that's where you would put that failover source. You can reset. So when we hit refresh, right, we refresh it and it pings the network and it finds out what sources are on the network. You can reset that list as well by clicking reset. And then, of course, applying all that information. You hit apply here. That would do that. Oh, now, there's an advanced tab on here that we need to talk about. This is the new Silicon 2 update. When you click on advanced, you can tell it to do constant bitrate or variable, but you have to pick what protocol you want first. So if you want it to be SRT, NDI-HX, RTSP, RTMP, or disabled, when you click that, it will change the options basically for what it's allowed to do. So, for example, if I go HX, we get constant and variable. If I click SRT, it's going to change this for the SRT settings, all right? And it's going to say, like, what do you want for your GOP size, what bit rate, you know, all this stuff in here. So it's going to give you the options to link it as an SRT caller or a listener, or even rendezvous, I believe. So rendezvous, as some people, I've heard people say. Anyways, but it gives you all the options to do the SRT connections, which is great. I personally like the NDI-HX function because it gives us an option to use this camera at a lower bandwidth, just a little bit more latency. So we can change the mode here, low, medium, high, or ultra, which is an NDI-HX3 feature. And we can say we want it to be ultra high and we want it to be, you know, high bit rate, 50 megs. If you change this to medium, this is all going to adjust as well. So 8 megs. And it's really that fast. And then as always, I suggest going back to the dashboard and just doing a little restart device so that it restarts the NDI chip and gets it all kind of up and running for you. Okay, that's the end of the AV setup. The next tab is cam control. This is where you're going to manipulate all of your coloration options and control of the camera. If you want manual control of the actual camera, then you would click on this little wheel here, and I'll just show you. I'm clicking on the WebUI and it's moving the camera. So what I'm doing here is just clicking these little buttons and it's moving it. This is not for precise movement. This is for general movement, okay? That's what this is. Now, you can slow the pan way down. You can slow the tilt speed way down. And then when you press these buttons, they are a whole lot slower, okay? This is full on over, but it's not necessarily meant to be your control panel. Studio Monitor does a much better job of controlling the camera, and I can show you that kind of in real time here. Let me snap this to this. Let's see here. Let's do like this and this. Okay, so here, see how when we move this camera, oh, sorry, the speed is like super tiny, right? Well, if we go full speed, Look how fast that is. That's like ridiculously fast, right? So when we slow it down here, ba-ba-doo, ba-ba-doo, and we're going to press the now button. Now it's a fair bit slower. All right, but inside Studio Monitor, what I can do is I can actually turn these up to full, and then I can actually steer this fairly steadily with full speed. If I go all the way over, it will go fast. But if I want to just kind of dial it in and move it into position and be like precise, then I can just do that pretty simply there, and it works really well. So Studio Monitor is a great like variable control speed if you're trying to do this on a computer surface. All right, that's the best. That's probably the best way to handle that. So here, that's the initial control menu. If we need to turn on the OSD menu for some reason to get into the root file of things, you can do that here on off. But all of those options are available in the WebUI, so you shouldn't need to go in there. Zoom, we can actually physically zoom the camera from here. Tally and wide. We can go focus mode full auto, or we can say manual, and then you can manually change the focus of the camera as you need to. So you can see it like getting blurry there by just clicking this wheel, and then if I hit auto and I move it, it's going to find a point to focus on, and then we'll do that. So manual, I'm going to say in there. See my computer screen, my Dell, it's like slowly dialing in. There we go, nice and clean. So that's your manual focus in and out. You can also change the speed settings to be standard, which is what I'm using, or superfine, which gives you far more granular control over the speed in which you can dial. So like we can really dial it in, and the guys put lots of steps, like 250 different steps, and that gives you a very finessed threshold, we'll say. Don't mind the hole in the ceiling. Very finessed threshold to manipulate the camera, and that's very helpful when it comes to steering around. And then the zoom speed, so like I'm on full zoom right now, okay, that's full speed. If I dial this way down to like 2, then if I change that, look how slow that is. Okay, that's full on zooming out, so that nice and slow, a nice but that is a zoom threshold. Okay, you need to understand those are thresholds, and that's what it will go up to. So that's the manual control here on the camera control tab in Cam Control. All right, the next is the 3D options. This is a beta feature that has been around for quite a while, and so if you're into 3D, we have resources to help you kind of understand that, but this is beta, meaning that there's not a whole lot out there. It is designed to work with I think it's Unreal Engine, but these would be where you would enable that and then put in your parameters to start feeding that data over to your Unreal Engine. This is where we set the style of presets that we want to call and the actually saving the presets. The two options here is camera, meaning that we're going to save the position, the PTZ, and we're going to save the coloration of the camera. Okay, that's what that means. If you say PTZ only, when you save these presets, that will only be PTZ, okay? It does not save, in either case, the speed in which the camera obtains those presets, okay? It doesn't remember the speed of the preset speed, okay? It only remembers PTZ in this situation, or under camera, it remembers PTZ and coloration. All right, you should know between the two. If you wanted to save presets, here on this spot, we would hit save. The whole thing will turn green, and then we select the number that we want to save it as. And now preset 8 is saved with PTZ only. If I change this to camera and call preset 8, it will only call PTZ only preset 8. It will not call the other, like it with coloration options, because I didn't save those, and vice versa, by the way. Okay, the next tab is exposure, and this is where we're going to set our manual exposure for our light in our studio. And so I, of course, am running in manual, but we have a few options: full auto, manual, shutter priority, iris priority, and bright. These two are semi-automatic. This is a full automatic. Bright is kind of an optional, like a more basic setup, and manual is control over every single feature. Now, I use manual. I'm using a shutter speed of 1/30 because vmix is actually only outputting 30 frames, but I could go as high as 60 if I wanted. I like to have my iris as open as possible to allow in the most amount of light, and I like to keep my shutter speed somewhere close to what the frame rate is that I'm generating in my final production, or double. So if I'm running at 1080p 30, I would try and go for 1/60. All right. So general rule, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm also attempting to run at 0 dB of gain, okay? I don't want to introduce any artificial gain. If I have to do that, that usually means my lighting is too dark, okay? So if you have to introduce artificial gain, if you have to manipulate this, that usually means you have insufficient lighting for the camera to function correctly. White balance is also one of those things that you can use full auto, you can use a semi-auto option, or you can use a full manual option. Obviously, auto is full auto. Indoor is a preset indoor assumption of Kelvin temperature. You can use the outdoor, which again is the opposite of indoor, but it's an assumption of what the Kelvin temperature is. One push is if you click on one push, you would click the one push button, which is up here on the right, and you would that would take a snapshot at time of request and would change the white balance to be as estimatedly close as it could be with the current shot. Automatic white is also a full auto option, which is fine, but it is a reoccurring all the time style, and some people prefer to all have the same style of white balance. The trade-off there is that's usually happens when you have too many cameras and too few operators. Okay, that's why people run in full auto. My preference is user because it gives us control of the red gain and it gives us control of the blue-green gain, the red-yellow gain and the blue-green gain, which makes things much more manipulative when we are trying to get the right color balance. And so here is your yellows and reds, and as we change that, you can see that happening in real time. And then here are the blues. And so again, we can see that happening and get it pretty close. Now I have a gray office, and so that is pretty close. And also the lights are facing the other way. So no need to manipulate this too much, but it's probably something close to this. The other manual option is basically a color Kelvin range. And so if you have a really cool office, and I don't mean like, hey man, cool office. I mean like if you have a cold color and the lights are quite blue, then you could manipulate this to match whatever that Kelvin rating is. Or if you have really warm lighting, if you have, like lamps and things like that, then you're gonna have warm lighting, and then you can lower that pretty much all the way down to 2800 Kelvin, which is pretty crazy. So this office is somewhere in the 5000 range, but I wouldn't use manual 2. I would probably use this style of white balancing because I have far more control. And since I'm in a controlled lighting situation here in the studio, my lights don't normally change. The ambient light outside doesn't really affect me at all. And so I can set this manual and save it as a preset and leave it. Okay? Preset 1, if you save it with camera settings, preset 1 will load those settings when the camera boots up. And so it's easy. Once you get it kind of set up that way, then it's easy to power things on and get started fairly quickly. So that is what I would recommend there, and really finesse this a little bit. I go over in the P200 coloration video how to think about white balance when you're using the full manual setting. It's a great little tip that you might consider, but the number one question I pose is, what do you want this to look like? Decide on that before you start messing around with this. Decide on, I want it to look colder, I want it to look warmer, I want it to look more true to form, I want, darker blacks, I want it to look more like a raw video. You decide, and then we'll work towards that solution. Okay, the next tab is more of like the fine details of the actual picture itself. And so we're going to go over to the picture tab, and we're going to talk about sharpness. Now, never operate a camera in its extremes if you can help it, okay? So like if I turn it all the way up to 15, this looks kind of what we would refer to as crunchy. Okay, this shot looks a little bit like a little crunchy. It looks a little too sharp. I like to be somewhere in the middle, 8, 10, 7, somewhere in there. Have a look at the shot and see what you think, but don't go to the extremes. Don't go all the way to 0 because that looks really soft in the autofocus. It'll always look like it's out of focus. But don't go all the way to 15 either because that's going to look unnatural. And so you want to be somewhere where it's not noticeable, but it's nice and clean. And I find 8 to 10, maybe 8 to 12 is probably as far as you want to go. We have this amazing feature that nobody uses where if you want the shot to be black and white, you can. If you use this, put a comment in the comment section about that. I don't know why anyone would use that. I am prepared to be amazed. Okay, so noise reduction. This is also one of those things that people don't really know too much about, but When you have too much artificial gain, you're going to see noise in the black levels of your shirts or of your set or your things that are black colored, okay? So this helps reduce that a bit, but it also slows down the image slightly. And so you really want to get the coloration correct and the ample lighting correct, so that you don't really have to worry about this. I do find that if you use noise reduction somewhere in 2 or 3, that's a good little even point to kind of just scrub the image a little bit and keep it clean. But noise reduction at 2 or 3 is probably the extreme in which you want to go. We can flip the image upside down if we want to. If you're mounting this camera upside down, you can do that here. You can mirror the image. So if you want everybody to think that your world is backwards, or you live on the other side of the planet and your toilets spin backwards, you could do that here. You could, I don't know why I said that. You can change your wide dynamic range, WDR, if you wanted to add that for some reason to your shot. I personally don't find it to be great in a studio setting, and so we turn that basically off and leave it off. We can change our saturation settings, and typically I would tell you to try and shoot down the middle to start. And so the way that I start this is I go right down the middle with these 3, and then I manipulate it from there. So I do want my saturation to be a fair bit higher, so I'm maybe like at 12 or something like that, and I would bring down the blues if this was going to be my shot. And I also want my contrast to be higher, because when this camera looks at my shirt in the light, I want it to match my P200 as best I can. So I drive the contrast up pretty high. I do leave the gamma at 0, because I find that that is not necessary for what it is that I need, the image that I want to use. I leave it at 0. So that's just basically off at this point. Last on this list is color matrix. And this is one of those cool things where you can pull colors out of the shot, but that's the way you think about this, is if I have too much green or too much blue, or I need to tone down the blue hues, or I need to turn down the actual gain or something, we can dial that back and really like mute those colors. These are just kind of all set to standard, like middle of the road right now. I haven't even really played with this too much, so this is not the way you should set it up, but definitely play with it and find out what this does to your final image. The adjustments are minor, okay? This isn't a major move in terms of coloration. The adjustments are minor, and so know that as you manipulate these items. Okay, the last tab on here, and the last thing we'll cover today, is the actual scopes option. And BirdDog has done something really cool where they have given you the ability to have digital scopes, which is an expensive feature on most cameras, for free as a part of this NDI5 update. You get scopes for free, and as you're setting up cameras, you can either have it in preview mode, or you can have in the proxy stream, or you can have it in program mode. So let's just say I'm going to turn on all my scopes, and I want to check them while I'm using Studio Monitor. Well, I can turn on the scopes, and look, there is now a histogram up in the top right-hand corner. And I can put that wherever I want, by the way. So top left, top right, bottom left, and bottom right. Just whatever is convenient for you, we can move that around. There are also options where I can change this to a waveform. I can change this to an RGB parade. And I can change this to vector scopes. So whatever you're comfortable using, if you know how to use this, and by the way, there's a lot of great, useful videos about these items available on YouTube for free. So feel free, if you're like, I don't know what he's talking about, just type in vector scope tutorial for camera, and you're going to get hundreds of videos. You might even get the one that I did. So who knows? There's one available on birddogjon.tv. All right, so we can enable that on the preview mode, and Studio Monitor is running in proxy right now. How do I do that? I go to settings, video, and I select low bandwidth. So in proxy, this is what we would call preview mode. But if I turn this off, watch what happens to the vector scope. It disappears, because now I'm using the full stream. Well, I could also turn on the vector scope here if I wanted to, and show it on the actual program output. Okay, so this would be going out on the full NDI stream. I can even make it larger. What this is doesn't actually make it larger per se. It makes it visibly larger, but it just basically increases the pixel sizes. Okay, so it might on full screen on a giant 75-inch look a little pixelated, but it does make it larger if it's harder to see, and so that's a very useful little tool to have. And then we can turn it transparent if we want for some reason. If you need to see what's behind it and none of these locations are good enough for you, then you can turn it transparent so you can kind of see it. It's still available for information. And then when you're done with it, you just turn it off. And it leaves that stream, that NDI stream, and you are good to go. So we give you scopes for free. When you buy a BirdDog camera, you get vector scopes digitally on the camera output itself. That's a huge plus, a huge bonus. I know that there are other cameras that can do this, but they charge for that feature. You get this when you buy a BirdDog camera. So it's a huge selling point when it comes to using BirdDog products. And then finally, we just have the logout button, which is going to take us back to the dashboard, and then we'll be required to put in our BirdDog password once again. So hopefully you have found this overview of the P110 and P120 really helpful. Hopefully that you have a good understanding about where everything is and how to manipulate things and what buttons do when you press them. If you have any questions, reach out to us at help@birddog.tv. We would be happy to give you a hand. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you guys in the next tutorial. All right, I'm officially off. And now we're going to take any questions that have come in over on socials. So let's check that out. Hey, what's going on, Angus? Good morning. Not a lot has come in over on vmix social. All good, though. Hopefully, we have found that helpful. And I'll post that on my birddogjon page as a video that's available to watch as an independent video. And that way, you'll be able to see that live as we carry on. And what time is it? Oh, it's 12:15. Okay, so the last thing I need to try is Dairy Milk Fingers by Cadbury. Pretty excited about this. Pretty sure I'm going to like these. The best before date is the middle of next year. So is preservatives a thing? Ooh, these look good. These look like holiday style treats. And I'm very excited to try this out. All right. Ooh, that smells good too. Here we go, folks. Cadbury, is it milk chocolate? Milk chocolate biscuits is what they're called. Yeah, really good. That's very festive. Bravo, Nick and Torino. I appreciate that greatly. Good stuff. Okay. Let's see. Stream is healthy. That's good news. Our good friend Ian Foster has joined us. What's going on, Ian? Good morning. I was raised on those fingers. They are best from a freezer. Oh, man. Yes, they would be. That's like when I was a kid, somebody gave me a frozen Reese peanut butter cup, like a full one, and I refuse to eat them any other way now. So good. Oh no! Still good. Okay, maybe not. Snacks on stream, where John eats food from the floor. Good stuff. All right, folks. Well, I'm really excited about the next several shows because we're going to do product overviews just like that. I'm going to walk through the entire user interface and do a full walk around of the product itself and make those available. So if you're interested, if you missed today's show, if you are thinking about buying a product, those videos are going to be perfect for having a good understanding as to what it is that you're buying. Until, of course, they do a big firmware update, and then all that information will be irrelevant. I don't know of any major firmware updates for cameras other than Silicone 2, and that one has already come out. This camera is running 112, which is a Silicone 2 version. Oh, and by the way, so to get to that then, we go to the camera, and we say HX, and now this is the HX camera, or the HX feed, you know? Perhaps the idea is that we open 2 of these, and Bob's your uncle. Boom. And let's make this the same Z's. And then let's go 100 and do the difference between HX. Here is a live view of the difference between the HX feed on the right and the full NDI feed on the left. Right? This one says HX up here in the corner. This one also says 1080p 30, whereas this one says 1080p 5994. But if I steer them, oh wow. You see that? How much faster that is? Jeez. Oh man, that's ridiculous. I think you said ridiculous. Yeah, that's crazy. I actually haven't done this before. So there, on display, beautiful image on both of them. I mean, for the average viewer online, they're not going to notice much of a difference. However, yoink, quite a difference in latency when we're talking about real-time video. So that's pretty neat. It's cool to see. Same image, same camera. You know, that's real world right there. So, yeah, I really like. That's a great example of HX can get you by, but full NDI is really still where it's at. So, good stuff. Yeah, these fingers are amazing. They're really good. Full NDI is the faster one? Yes, always. Full NDI is going to be less latency by the way that it is encoded. So full NDI will be quicker than HX. Oh, good. I'm glad that I'm making sense to somebody. Never know. You just never know, folks. You never know. Chocolate is required. 'Tis the season. 'Tis the season. Now, Frink thinks, who is one of my agents, he says that he can eat like half this bag and it wouldn't faze him at all. He really enjoys them. So I will share them with the office. He had some that were sent to him. He really liked it. But the screen capture was very fuzzy. I couldn't read the titles. The screen capture was fuzzy? Oh, you mean, you mean this one. Oh, I see, yeah. Yeah, sorry. Let's see here. Audio source, capture settings, frame rates. Oh, wow. It's set to 60 frames. If I change it to 30, does it clean it up? It sure doesn't. So, yeah, this one over here is the full NDI. Whoa. You see that on there? What the heck's happened to the image? Oh my gosh. Did you see that? Whoa, is that real? When you move it, oh gosh. Are you guys are seeing that, right? Look at the HX feed. The full NDI is like pristine. That HX feed looks terrible when it moves at high speed. Yikes. Oh boy. Oh, is that a thing? Oh. Looks like NDI proxy. Maybe you're right. Nope. Nope. So let's say lowest latency. Is it? Will that do anything? Wow. I'm surprised. I had not noticed. Ooh. The frame drops. Yikes, man. Again, HX, if you have a BirdDog camera, HX is a nice thing for reference, maybe. Like if you were to bring that stream in and you put it up on a multi-viewer or something like that. But if you have the camera, don't look, don't buy a sports car and then drive it around on the city streets. It doesn't make any sense to me. Oh, wow, that HX fell right apart. Yeah. Fast movement. That's wild. The screen capture itself is the proxy, so I can't read any of that text. Oh. Well. Capture settings. Yeah, there's nothing to... I can't even manipulate that in here. Looks quite dreadful. That's a great choice of words. That's what a large group of pictures will do. In between frames only transmit differences between the iframes. Man, that's wild. I've never seen an NDI stream just... Yeah, anyways, yeah, dump it. That looks rough. Yeah, the bitrate. Crazy. So, if that's the thing, then if we go here and we say AV setup, don't tell anybody my password, and we say ultra high. All right. And then the dashboardio. We restart the NDI chip. Wait for it to come back. And then we open up. Whoa. Oh, that's cool. And then we open up this camera. P110. Bueller. Okay, that's live. What happened to the HX stream? Uh-oh. Whoa. HX. AV setup. Variable. Custom. And then... Oh, that's weird. Let's say HX. Let's say disabled. Disabled. NDI HX on. Huh. Well, that's interesting. This guy's... Wait. This guy is back, right? Yeah, this is live. But there is now no HX signal. Fascinating. Okay, so did I break it or did I just pick the wrong thing? Constant high? Let's go with that. Bizarre, man. I'm not too sure what's going on here. Let's reboot. We'll see what happens. Try making the GOP setting as small as possible. Had a lengthy argument with Sony sales managers about long GOP versus iframe codecs, which they brought out the EX1 in response to the Panasonic HVX200. Obviously, long GOP won out in the end for prosumer, but the DVC Pro sure did look good at the time. Hey-o. The HX stream has arrived. All right, so now let's give it a go. Okay, so yeah, rough stuff. And now we're going to go back to the WebUI. Open up AV setup. Put in my secret password. Eat one of these chocolate fingers. Oh. Look. Custom. We're going to restart the NDI streams one more time. Maybe not just one more time, but okay, there. Camera's on. Camera's on. Okay, so here we go. Much better. Much better. Not as nice as the P100 or the 110 moving around in full NDI. Definitely see a compromise, but that is an acceptable image. Ew, what was that thing on the ceiling? Yuck. Oh, I'm sorry. You guys can't see this. Okay, so this is much better. There's like a stain on the ceiling or something. All right. Much better. Yes, it was that GOP size that needed to be changed out for sure. I remember having no end of troubles with the HDV tapes, recording concerts and having endless dropouts that would throw off the sync. I was so good at matching waveforms to find the drops. Standard def DV was so much easier to work with. I sure don't miss having the capture tapes in real time, though. Yes, seriously. I remember those days. You'd record all day long, and then you go back at nighttime, and you're supposed to produce the thing for the next day. And you have to watch every clip that you make so that it makes the new ones. Oh, man. How do we live that way? It was a disaster. Cool. Alrighty. Well, look, guys, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. I feel like I've had a lot of fun talking about the 110 and playing around with Silicone 2. Always a pleasure, by the way. Feel free to join me over on birddogjon.tv, which is rapidly growing in subscriptions, not by YouTube standards, but by my standards. We've had like over a dozen people join the channel in the past week, like this physical week. So like from Sunday till now. So I'm doing something. I don't know what it is. Accidentally found a bunch of people that wanted to subscribe. But if you haven't, feel free to join. Always a blast. And if you subscribe over there, then you can join the chat. You just have to join for 5 minutes and then you can join. So join me at birddogjon.tv. It is the place to be for everything BirdDog support. Certainly would be happy to help you out. And of course, help at birddog.tv is the other place that you need to hang out with, because that email is the direct heartline to my support agents. Now, we've had an uptick in support, and that has increased our response time. So give us a little bit of time. We're trying to sort all that out, trying to get through everything that we can. And we don't want to just send you responses for the sake of sending you a response. We want to actually work with you, figure out what the issue is. And so we're assigning tickets to agents methodically. And so we're only letting them get to a certain amount so that they have time and focus to get through those things. And so I've been trying to take care of the agent workload, but I'm also trying to take care of the customers and make sure that they're getting proper responses from somebody who's not overstressed. So that's what we're doing there to kind of manage things. So we're manipulating that a little bit, trying to like make sure that that's in line with expectations and all that stuff. But feel free to reach out to my guys over at help@birddog.tv. They'd be able to give you a hand with that. Matter of fact, let me go here. Change that one. Okay. And then, oh yeah. What? I'm not too sure what happened here. My image went missing. So we will use this one? No. Maybe it's because I got rid of my picture? I don't know what happened here. It's like one of those mysteries. I used to have a picture of myself, and that has disappeared. Let's put this guy in there. Like that, maybe? Yeah. Okay, so now if I hit this one. Nope. Not that one. That's Angus. What about... Okay, that's the QR code. So I need this to be number 4. Boom. birddogjon.tv and help at birddog.tv. That's where it is, everybody. Come and hang out. I like it. Nice and easy. Now the question is, will that turn off? I think it will. But we will find out. Okay. One more peek at the chat. We're all caught up. Looking good. All right, guys. I'm going to sign off. It's been a blast. Expect to see that trimmed video sometime later on today show up on my channel. And we will carry on with all the things that we got going on. Lots of things happening over here at BirdDog. And so stay tuned. Always fun to find out more and more as things progress. So don't forget to give us a shout. This thing is not clearing. Don't forget to give us a shout over at help at birddog.tv if you need help between now and next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, I'll be back with another probably camera walkthrough for the show. So join us then. Bring your questions. Bring your friends. Subscribe to birddogjon.tv. And I'd really appreciate it. And that channel just continues to kind of move forward. So let me know. Give me a shout. Let me know how we can help. In the meantime, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We will see you in a few days, and hopefully you're looking forward to a good weekend. I'm doing a little bit of travel, and then I'll be back on Sunday night. So, yeah, look for me then. I will be back next Tuesday, 11 o'clock Eastern Time, right here, birddogjon.tv. Take care of yourselves, guys. It's been a blast. We'll check in with you later. Bye.